Live from the Moscone Convention Center in San Francisco, California, it's theCUBE at Oracle OpenWorld 2014. Brought to you by headline sponsor Cisco Systems, with support from NetApp. And now, here are your hosts, John Furrier and Jeff Frick.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We're here live at Oracle OpenWorld in San Francisco, California, the Moscone Center for Oracle OpenWorld 2014. This is theCUBE, our flagship program. We go out to the events and extract the signal noise. I'm John Furrier, the co-founder of SiliconANGLE Media. Joined Jeff Frick, who's our general manager of our CUBE in Silicon Valley. Our next guest is Jim McHugh here at Cisco, who's our host here inside the CUBE, because we are live inside the Cisco booth, VP of Marketing, UCS Marketing at Cisco. Welcome back to theCUBE.
Thanks for having me.
I just want to say thanks for letting us use your space here. Had a lot of great guests, some great technical conversations, really authentic, great organic content, just awesome guests from Cisco. Appreciate the
that's
sponsorship.
Great, and by the way, I've been watching the buzz that's going on around Twitter about all the conversations going on here. It's going really well, so it's great.
So one of the things that's been exciting is that we're learning a lot about UCS, and obviously the glowing reviews. We talked to the engineering guys here on Oracle, also some architects in large data centers. It's getting great reviews. Obviously the numbers are pretty high, so give us a quick overview of the business. Obviously you're on the business side. What is UCS up to? Obviously the market share numbers are pretty successful.
Yes.
However they're debated, they're still big. Also customers are very, very happy with UCS. Seems to fit well with this modern architecture of this cloud meets data center meets cloud mobile social.
Yeah. So numbers are doing really well. America's #1, so that's America's, not just the US. Worldwide #2 and growing. Basically Paul Prez, who's the GM of UCS, has made it clear, we're going for #1. So we're going to keep pushing, we continue to grow. It's nice when your CEO, John Chambers, mentions that his $3 billion business is growing 30+%, and he's proud of that. So, we'll take that as a sign that we're doing the right work. And, I think largely the success is the focus on solutions. Cisco was smart early on. I mean, we've got all the great technologies. I know people have been talking to you about service profiles, and they are fantastic. But the fact that we focused on how the solutions are and what are the business outcomes that our customers need, and how infrastructure delivers that, right? So we don't actually treat it as a server. We treat it as compute, and how compute network comes together. And that's where you get this whole idea of UCS integrated infrastructure.
So the market share numbers, I want to push back in a little bit. Some have been saying in the competition, obviously it's competition, so the FUD wars begin, that there's a lot of bolt-on, non-UCS products on the market share. How do you address that? Can you clarify? See, that's just a false statement. What is UCS? How do the numbers get calculated?
Well, I mean, UCS, it's pretty clear. It's a unified computing system, and it is a system, so I don't know how you would actually disaggregate a system, right? So
unless you were a server vendor and sold just servers.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to be in a business from the 90s, you could, but we obviously changed the market not to follow their rules, right? So we are in the compute business because we actually saw a transition that was happening when these other, I guess, server vendors decided that it was okay to have servers that actually didn't even handle virtualization well. Cisco came in and said, look, we're going to change that. And I was on the outside watching this, and I was like, just like everyone else, really? Cisco's coming into this business? And 5 years later, here we are, continuing to change it.
Well, a lot of people, just to push back on the naysayers of that, just to look at what Cisco did, they were looking at the server business and trying to micro-analyze the one aspect of the system.
Yeah.
So, okay, given that the system, what are you unifying? The compute, the storage, the network, what is this? What's unified?
It's compute, network, and storage access, which is why we partner so well. I mean, I know you guys had some guys from NetApp in here, EMC, if you look at what Nimble Storage is doing or whatever, they're able to actually integrate with what we do really well because it was designed to bring those together. It was the unification, the integration of those from the beginning. That's how we got it. UCS integrated infrastructure is the #1 integrated infrastructure out there. If you look at the Magic Quadrant, if you look at the IDC reports, it's because it's VCE and NetApp. Well, 2/3 of that solution is Cisco.
Yeah. So I want to bring up something that Howie Hsu said, who's a distinguished engineer, or I think he must be a distinguished engineer, Steve Arid, so that qualifies him. But he said something really interesting in that Cisco's got the overlay and underlay. What does that mean to the average customer? I mean, overlay is on top of the network and underlay. So what does that mean, and how does that translate to UCS leadership?
So overlay and underlay are terms that are usually used in the discussions of SDN, right? So if you look at the software abstraction layer and then the physical itself. And so when people actually try to separate those too far, what you get is you have to manage both separately, and you're actually creating more work for yourself. So what UCS did, and we talked about it, it was the world's first policy-based compute solution. So from a fabric computing, we took the fabric, brought it to compute there. Now a lot what you're seeing with ACI, it's the world's first policy-based fabric. And so by understanding the value of the infrastructure plus the value of having that software abstraction, that's where you're getting the benefit. Artificially separating those and trying to create a business model where you're creating more headaches for your customers long term, I don't see it paying off.
I bring this up because, Jeff, we were talking earlier about virtualization, and Jim, you mentioned just now, some server vendors, the other guys, weren't handling even virtualization at the server level.
Right.
So when you bring in overlay, underlay, you're talking about intelligence, which combines virtualization with other stuff, software, okay, to enable stuff up the stack, mainly applications or cloud.
Exactly.
Is that how it is?
Yeah, so if you think about it, the last decade was about virtualization. This next decade's about cloud. And it really does change what you're doing. So we spent and grew a lot of our business by being the best platform for virtualization. Well, guess what? There's a lot of applications right now that virtualization just doesn't fit. We're not supposed to talk about it here, but Larry mentioned it first. HANA is not a great virtualization solution, right? A lot of the things that's going on big data, not great for virtualization. You run that bare metal and you have to tune your infrastructure for that. So it's interesting how things, we focused on it. Virtualization was big, and a lot of, if you're going to keep playing that virtualization angle where it's more, not really even software defined, it's emulation. All a virtual machine is creating another machine on top of another machine, and that was great for a while, but we've all had VM sprawl issues, we've all had all these things. At some point, that paradigm has run its course, and we need to go to another one, and I think
containers are interesting, right? So what virtualization is doing is, I mentioned sprawl and efficiency kicks in, so this is where the software-defined data center comes in, Jeff. So where this is all leading, in my opinion, kind of leading the horse to water here is that, and this is, I want to ask the question is, in your opinion, UCS the prime, does to have the pole position, so to speak, for a software-defined data center?
I think, well, by the way, I'm an old Solaris guy, so containers is like second hand for me. So
we can riff on Docker.
So we're just repeating it with a different approach. But look, I think yes, I think UCS, and especially what you saw us do if you were watching our launch on September 4th, talking about the M series, really disaggregating what is the server even. So we take the processor and the memory that's needed from there, and we pull it away from the rest of the server, so that you actually can have the equivalent of shared services. And then you can keep adding these components. What does that mean is you can upgrade them faster, you can add more compute components, you're going to get more performance. I think that is ideal for a software-defined or software-led or application-centric, whatever you want to call it, this was built for that.
And I want to follow up on something that Howie said, is that really the cloud is having such success because it's really just a solution platform for an application developer. So for the guy that's actually running the app, he just wants compute and he wants storage and kind of on tap, ready to go. What you guys are really doing is enabling that,
make that easy as possible
behind the the actual data center where the cloud lives.
Yeah. So it's an interesting. So I was with, and you guys know I'm a big fan of Major League Baseball. And the exec sponsor there, and I was with Major League Baseball, and we had a bunch of people in going through a tour, and someone asked them, do you use the cloud? And he said, yeah, absolutely, I use the cloud. And they're like, oh, do you use Amazon? I'm like, yeah, of course I use Amazon. So they thought, oh, we got him, right? Well, now we understand, right? What do we use it for? He said, well, actually what we use it for is for all the notifications, right? And we were there at about 12 o'clock in the afternoon. He's like, probably right now there's about 100,000 notifications going out. By tonight, there'll be millions. Wait till we get in playoff and World Series, it'll be, hundreds of millions. We're sending out notifications all the time. So that's a great elastic, burstable component that they could do. So he doesn't want to have that infrastructure. Then someone asked him, well, why do you have a private cloud? Why do you run your own infrastructure? He said, most people went to the cloud because they couldn't get the infrastructure. It took too long to provision hardware. He said, we don't have that problem. I've set it out, we bring in UCS, I'm bringing them in all the time, using service profiles, laying it down, and away to go. So I think that, again, was the problem of old, getting infrastructure. Cloud now is actually because it's a better platform. It's, OpenStack is a great platform for a lot of the new applications. It's a new way of doing it, and that's really driving a lot of change. So I think cloud has actually grown up.
Right, and then the whole intercloud too, in terms of matching the cloud to the workload. I don't need a lot of security if I'm sending out score updates for MLB, right? I don't need the same amount of
This is the thing that's interesting about UCS, why Danny, earlier, our architect, who's talked about as a game changer, is interesting because he's an architect. I mean, he might get the Cisco spiel, he joined from the outside, you did as well from having that Sun background, the computing landscape, and that is that the world's changing, right? You mentioned notification, there's also APIs, right? People are trading data, so the data exchange is a whole new paradigm. Some call it the notification economy, the API economy, the sharing economy. Look at Uber, right?
The Internet of Everything.
The Internet of Everything. So,
right,
the Internet of Everything is Uber, right? Uber is a big data app. People can, it's a mobile app and it's also a collaborative app. You can rate your drivers. So Ray Wang pointed this out earlier on theCUBE. This is the preferred user experience and the preferred environment that IT enterprises need to be at. So the question for you is, where do you think they are right now? Okay, I mean, put your industry hat on, as a historical perspective to kind of reality. Where are we? Are they like toe in the water? I mean, are the big guys getting it? Is there a distribution curve of peaking out?
Where do you mean? Where are we in
with the evolution to this notification economy, where the customers are like, I got it. We're building. We're investing. Full boat, throttle.
I mean, the truth is, despite all the talk about everything on cloud, I think public cloud only accounts for about 10% right now of overall IT spend. And we talk about shadow IT and it's growing, et cetera. So, I'm not saying that as like it's not the right model. I'm saying is we're just beginning. It is actually about to take off, and I think your Uber example is absolutely great. If you pick any industry, there's a technology solution that's disrupting it right now, and it's usually based on data. Access to data, better customer insight, and they're driving change that way. So I think that is what's going to change everything. It's changing the way we're doing compute. I mean, you probably heard we talk about the Mini, because UCS Mini, because you need to do compute at the oil rig. You need to do compute at retail, because when you walk in, I know which aisle you're walking down and why you're hanging out in front of that end cap.
You guys have a lot of installed customers that have a lot of incumbent position from Cisco, loyalists, from routers in the early days to now full on in the data center, in the racks. So there's rip and replace kind of transformation where it's rip and replace, go to the new functionality, or technology refresh.
Yep.
So where are they? So assume that they're on that spectrum and say technology refresh. Where are they in the mindset? How would you peg them in an inning if you use the MLB example? Are they in the 5th inning? Are they 2nd inning? What inning are they in? Or are they late innings?
I think because customers are so diverse, a lot of Oracle customers are in the refresh mode, right? A lot of other customers are in a complete replatform. I'm going to stop doing that, and I'm going, Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball Advanced Media, they got to start from scratch. So they are the cutting edge approach to everything. They're really good at it. Their software developers are, leading and ways that they're going to go about it. That's a lot different than if you are an Oracle database, Fusion middleware, Fusion applications, where it's all very integrated kind of approach. You're going to make different decisions, and you're not going to be, quickly jumping to different components.
But I just want to follow up something you said, John, and Jim, you followed up, is the other fight is not only for the user experience and the way apps are delivered, but it's for the application developers, right? We always talk about who's winning the developers. And the developers today are used to working in a cloud-centric world, in that they can get resources easily, quickly, inexpensively to do what they do.
And quickly. Speed's the issue.
Right.
They need servers now.
We need servers now. I don't want to put in a requisition. So both for technology companies and new companies trying to disrupt with data, the application developers have an expectation that they're not waiting to spin up something someplace.
Right. And so I think on two components there. One, they now have the option. That's, if you want to talk about why I think the intercloud announcement we did is so great, it actually allows the developer to go, start in the public cloud. And when we have the machines, we'll provision you back. We'll just bring it home. And a lot of it is not just about bursting to the cloud, it's bringing it back when the time is right.
When it's ready.
And there's a lot of game developers that have done that. Look at Zynga, right? They started on Amazon.
Yeah.
And when it got to a point they could actually write their application, get better performance by tuning it, there's a point where general purpose isn't good enough. And so...
Well, Twitter's the same way. I mean, all the big hyperscale companies, web scale, hyperscale, have all scaled up on cloud. That's how they got started. They hit the flywheel, boom, they're growing, and then they go, wow, I got to take this on-prem. There's ineconomies of scale when you hit a certain point on Amazon where the bills are just so huge. You just gotta, and the lumpy service. I mean, you guys can't have lumpy service. If you're an enterprise, lumpy service is not an option. You can't have, it worked good today.
Yeah. And then let's look at, there's other trends coming that's really going to change the public cloud, guys, unless you become really good and specialized in it. Look at big data. Everybody's talking about big data. Hadoop. Okay, which Hadoop vendor should I go with? Cloudera, Hortonworks, MapR. They have different approaches. Now look at what's going on. That's becoming a platform. So you got Spark, right? Is my distribution of Hadoop working with Spark yet? Am I going to get that level of customer insight? Am I actually going to bring it together? All that requires really a knowledge of how you want to deploy your application and go from there. Sometimes general purpose solutions aren't going to do that. So I think you're going to see spinning up of service providers that target just that, right? You're going to get people from the Alta scales to the guys in Berkeley. You're going to be doing some stuff. As that starts growing out, that'll go vertical. I'll have actually solutions like this that are targeted at financial services, and that's where it's going. You're going to get much more targeted, much better deployments, and you're going to actually meet their needs that you're going to do from there. And it's not general purpose.
It's funny, we talk on theCUBE all the time with DevOps shows, and everyone always criticizes the network guys, and that's you, right? So that's Cisco, and come on, and this is years ago, come on, fix the network. We don't like you guys, server guys. I don't want to have to wait. I mean, Facebook puts in orders for servers like it's nobody's business. They're just like, I'm throwing up another app, just get the servers. It's not like which server to buy for the app. So certainly that tide has shifted, right? So now is intelligent networks. So where do you go next? With this DevOps ethos, infrastructure as code, you got the overlay, you got the underlay, you got the service profile, a lot of goodness happening with UCS. You have a nice fabric on the data side, so you got intercloud on the high end. What do you do next? What's the strategy? What's your business plan for the next couple of years?
So if you look at, our focus is, I don't actually put together a UCS go-to-market plan, really. I put together a big data and analytics plan, a mobility plan, my plan with my partners like Oracle, going down across, what we do with Red Hat, what we're doing with that. We put together a go-to-market plan that actually meets our customers' needs, which puts us out ahead of it. So when we start doing it that way, you're actually rethinking what the infrastructure needs to be, rethinking the products that go from there. And it actually
So you're not targeting a segment of the market per se, as defined by some Gartner chart or whatever.
No.
You go in and saying, what mega trends are my customers dealing with to enable their business?
Exactly. And it's a different conversation, We get put into the Gartner quadrants and et cetera because that's a way of explaining to people how it's going. But you're really looking in the rearview mirror. We're actually focusing out here, and and we have to. And if we're not taking that approach, we would have never listened to our customers and come out with Mini. We would have never redesigned the server
This is
again.
a really good point you might want to talk to, because you're senior enough in the industry and you got a great tiger by the tail with UCS, and you know how these analysts do the segment scoping. So in a segment scope, you have a total addressable market, and then you have segments. A lot of the new technologies are crossing segments. You could be actually sitting in a segment here and here and here because you have cross functionality because the platforms are changing. So as people start replatforming, what is that? Why is that dynamic happening? Is it because of cloud? Is it because of this convergence? Or is it because the world requirements are changing?
Look, consumers don't follow org charts. They don't follow vendor charts. They don't follow anything. They actually want what they want. and they get it. So that, it started off Amazon and those kind of guys delivered it. Now they're going to they need better platforms, from the infrastructure to the software that drives the applications, and they're going to get it. And customers are going to demand it, and we're going to deliver it, and that just changes it. So, you bring in your cell phone every day to work, and if you come into a big company like Cisco, I'm bringing apps in that I run my life with, and IT had to react. They had no choice.
Yeah.
Who chose Dropbox inside their company? I mean, which IT department said, I really want to use Dropbox? No, the employees chose it.
Right.
Go back, who chose Google to do search?
Yeah.
So if you keep going, it is the consumerization and the demand where people are coming along that they just want what they want, and they're going to get it. And the developers are fast and smart, and they're switching languages and switching platforms. And you know what? We get to keep up, and that's what makes our life fun and interesting.
So if you can go to, say, a Wikibon analyst or a Gartner analyst and saying, screw your segments, I'm going to create a new segment with UCS. What would that be? And what would be the top 3 cornerstone features that would be a categorical segment in and of itself?
Well, I mean, for better or worse, we did create a segment. We call it the Integrated Infrastructure segment, and they actually did do it.
It's called UCS.
UCS.
It unifies all these segments.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and service profiles allows you to actually have these guys work together and put the information in. I'm sure people talk about that. So,
all right, but how do you talk to your customers about it? Because it's the benefits are clear, but when you come in and saying, what kind of animal are you as a solution? They want to know, are you a horse? Are you, a dog? A lion? So
it's like when you used to choose clothes for animals, and you have to match up the zebra and the zebra.
What kind of animal is UCS? It's an infrastructure solution? Is it software? How do you talk to customers? This is like positioning question.
It is infrastructure, and we're proud to be in the infrastructure business, and it actually does use software as its secret sauce to make it successful. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. But it's bringing that infrastructure together so that you don't have to provision and don't have to do it. That used to be one of the problems. Like, look, it wasn't just like ordering servers. Ordering server, get under the floorboard, wire that to the network closet, make sure the storage was there, all that kind of component. We're solving that up front, so it is faster and easier to provision this stuff.
Actually, one of the things you guys said on here in the Cube was the cabling was a huge innovation, as well as saving the Oracle license. So has that do you guys, you can't really flaunt that too hard at the Oracle show, but UCS saves licenses for your customers.
It's part of the economics.
That word gets out pretty fast. That thing's like word of mouth, viral storm.
It maybe saves it for an existing application, but the demand for computing resources, the demand for new applications, the demand, the overall demand for computing continues to go up and up and up and up. Especially with 1,000 apps and the proliferation.
And if I have the flexibility to make my infrastructure support one app for a certain period of time, and I actually can switch the service profile and have it support another app, not just the app, but also the right application platform that's going to be on that, the right infrastructure software, down to the right hypervisor, down to the right, what is the requirements in the BIOS for security reasons. If I can have that all in a service profile, all those decisions, and quickly lay it down on a blade, and boom, away we go, yeah, of course that's going to save money, but that's not actually flaunting something other than that's what makes sense. That's what cloud is. I need more compute resources, I turn them up when I need them. I turn them down when I don't need them. That's all, we're doing the exact same thing, but you can do it inside your own data center, you can do it in a hosted solution, or you can do it in a service provider.
So Jim, we're wrapping the segment. Talk about a couple things we want to check the boxes on. Partners. We talked with NetApp, we talked to Intel. How's the partnerships going? Good feedback, good results? You happy with it?
Yeah, so I do UCS and also work with a lot of our solutions partners, because that's how we go to market, right? So I think, if you look at the relationships we have with NetApp, and actually the relationship we have with EMC and VCE, we're doing really great. We together have created that market, and it is growing. If you look at the server industry, it's not growing, let's be honest, right? Pretty flat. We're growing at 30%, but the integrated infrastructure is growing at 14+%, which is pretty darn good. Inside that, we happen to dominate it. The other value comes is, then with those partners, of infrastructure partners, we go to our application partners. We start, at the OS level with the likes of Red Hat and others. Oracle OVM is, also a partner of ours. And then we target the applications, whether it's Oracle solutions, SAP solutions, Microsoft solutions, some of the newer DevOps type apps we're doing, working on that, are probably better target for our OpenStack relationship. So
Well, certainly, we know on Amazon the integrated stack has proven works for developers on greenfield applications. This integrated solutions you've seen with VBlock, certainly FlexPlot, and all the other. It's happening. I mean, it's definitely happening, and I think that's the trend. Final point I want to ask you is, what are you going to be up to? What's your calendar look like? You're going to be in New York. What's next? Give us the 6-month roadmap of your life.
I am
events you'll be at. That we might be
I'm
running
going to be popping off the Strata Hadoop World. We are, the week after that, I'm doing a webcast around big data. Having the 3 big Cloudera, Horton, and MapR joining me. The founders will be on that, so it's actually pretty exciting as well.
Virtual event or a physical event?
It'll be a virtual event, as well as Paul Perez and some others. Right after that, I then will be heading off to our data center partner conference in Phuket, Thailand, which will be kind of tough, somebody's got to do it. If I volunteer.
We should get a cube out there.
And we should have our travel cube by then.
And then because I haven't flown around the world yet this year, I'll be going from there to Paris to the OpenStack Summit.
Okay, in Paris.
In Paris,
all right.
yeah.
All right, well, you're busy
Traveling,
and you got, again, tiger by the tail. That's a great animal to categorize. UCS really making some waves, certainly on the numbers, as the analysts report. Customers are happy. Again, the fabric, this new cultural shift happening in the enterprise, really there. Congratulations. I also want to say thank you for hosting us here inside the Cisco booth, because theCUBE is live here in the Cisco booth, on the ground, on the floor at Oracle OpenWorld. They were generous enough to share their space with theCUBE to bring the awesome content from the tech athletes to you. Thank you so much, appreciate Cisco's support. This is theCUBE, we'll be right back with more interviews here on the ground, wall to wall, 3 days coverage, Oracle OpenWorld. We'll be right back from the Cisco booth right at this short break.